Money wizard D.Shepherd and his fabled building, McMurran Hall, Shepherdstown, West Virginia, by Jim Surkamp. About how a young boy from Shepherdstown built a massive fortune through work, smarts, and an act of his own heroism for another, then turns around and gives much of it back as McMurran Hall, an almshouse in New Orleans, and other gifts. D.Shepherd had a strict, flinty way, but on paper and in the world at large did his huge generosities stand tall, pervade the landscape, and enrich the hearts of humanity. "75-year-old Rezin D.Shepherd, described by the New Orleans Picayune as having the largest and most productive estate which has ever been held by one person in this city and state, began the construction Thursday, October 6, 1859, of a gift to his hometown, this time right on lot number 1 in Shepherdstown, the very lot where he was born, in August 1st, 1784. Who knew that in 10 fleeting days, October 16th, history would be blown off its hinges by the John Brown Raiders' attack 15 miles away at Harper's Ferry, the match that lit the simmering fever of division between North and South over slavery and claimed rights to secede from the Union. The tempest raged back and forth over the county and town for 1,300 days of pitiless strife and war before settling back into being a barren, alien landscape. R.D.'s building, R.D., henceforth for Rezin D.Shepherd, beautiful as were all his buildings, remains a Greek revival style with a 2-story portico and Corinthian flourishes. But in the 1860s it would bear witness to all that was rent asunder and itself narrowly avoid destruction, unlike a less lucky altruistic juggernaut project of shepherds in New Orleans, the palatial Almshouse. But this, R.D.'s town hall, first named, would eventually live a long, happy life, first as county court, then into its present-day majesty as the signature building of Shepherd University. When he was just 9 years old, R.D.'s father, Abraham, placed him in the store and counting house in Baltimore of William Taylor, an ambitious importer and ship owner. R.D.'s incredible gifts surfaced when he, just 18, was sent to New Orleans to assure a good return on a huge shipment of British goods his firm had purchased for New Orleans customers. Then, his first big killing was with another fresh-faced, hard-driving tailor colleague, James McDonough. Wrote the Picayune, in October 1803, it was well known throughout the country that Louisiana had been purchased by the United States. Mr. Taylor was the only merchant who seemed to comprehend the profit from one consequence of this great political event. The firm realized that in becoming a state, a duty of 2.5 cents would be added to the price of all sugar imports thereafter. So, Shepherd and McDonough when all the sugar produced in the state was between 2,100 and 2,200 hogsheads, cornered 1,800 of those hogsheads, giving young R.D. a handsome capital for a young man to start in mercantile life. He soon created a new firm shared with Taylor, and then, in time, through age and retirement, became R.D.'s alone. Coming into his own, he married Lucy Taylor Gorham of Barnstable, Massachusetts in 1808, who was a niece and adopted daughter of Taylor. On August 22nd, 1809, their only child, Ellen Shepherd, was born in Louisiana. Lucy would die in 1814. It was at this juncture the penchant of R.D. for regular publicity-averse benefactions took root. In the moment of his willed defiance against a direct military order to work instead to save one particular wounded man left for dead in war, a man who himself would live on to become the epitome of the proverbial good man, albeit extraordinarily wealthy. His name was Judah Turo, a top-hatted but humble Jewish businessman who believed in respect for all religions and daily applications of the code of good works. He was beloved throughout his circles and region as the Israelite without guile. Wrote author Collier in his biography of Andrew Jackson, while carrying ammunition on the battlefield January 1st, 1815, Mr. Turo was struck by a 12-pound shot which tore a large mass of flesh from the thigh and prostrated him among the dead and dying. Mr. Rezin Shepherd was carrying a special order from Commodore Patterson across the river to the main army. On reaching the bank, he met a friend who told him that his friend Turo was dead. Inquiring where he was, Shepherd was informed that he had been taken to an old building in the rear of Jackson's headquarters. Forgetting his orders, Mr. Shepherd went immediately to the place and found he was not dead, but as a surgeon said, in a dying condition. Disregarding what the surgeon said, Shepherd got a cart, put him in it, administered stimulants, and took Turo to his own house. He then procured nurses, and by the closest attention, Mr. Turo's life was saved. Shepherd returned late in the day, having performed his mission, to find Commodore Patterson in a bad humor. And speaking severely to him, the latter said, "Commodore, you could hang me or shoot me, and it'll be all right. But my best friend needed my assistance, and nothing on earth could have induced me to neglect him." R.D.'s businesses continued to grow exponentially, and his brother, James Hervey Shepherd, was summoned from Shepherdstown to assist. Between 1817 and 1837, R.D. travels to Europe, settles in Boston, doting on his daughter's education. In 1822, R.D. maintained his businesses and shipping concerns at 5 Pearl Street and nearby Indian Wharf House in Boston. He has his daughter's portrait painted by Thomas Sully in 1831, a few years after Gilbert Stuart is commissioned to paint his own portrait. Stuart died in 1828. On April 20th, 1829, Ellen Shepherd marries Gorham Brooks of Medford, Massachusetts. 1834, R.D. commissions Samuel Fuller to build the 480-ton merchant ship in Medford named after his daughter, the Ellen Brooks. 1837, James Hervey Shepherd dies. R.D. returns to run businesses in New Orleans. July 23, 1837, Ellen Shepherd Brooks and her husband, usually in Boston or Medford, temporarily reside in Baltimore. Between 1837 and 1865, R.D.'s nephew, Henry Shepherd Jr., was brought up in his uncle's counting room and gradually assumes the role as R.D.'s agent in New Orleans. 1839, R.D.'s commissioned painting of the ship the Ellen Brooks is completed, attributed to Samuel Walters, British, 1811 to 1882, called Ellen Brooks off Holyhead Homeward Bound. 1841, R.D. buys 468 acres of land and begins building Wild Goose Farm, but not yet living there full time. He also pays for most of the remodeling of the original Trinity Episcopal Church in Shepherdstown. June 1842, R.D. signs a petition to Congress along with numerous other planters and sugar manufacturers in the state of Louisiana that asks for an increase in the duties on imported sugar. 1849, R.D. places responsibilities on his 18-year-old nephew, Henry Shepherd Jr., who would become his agent in New Orleans through the Civil War, allowing R.D. to return more permanently to his Wild Goose Farm. 1850, in Shepherdstown and Wild Goose Farm, the census shows 66-year-old R.D. with a period worth of $240,000 in the county, living only with workmen, 26-year-old German-born master stonemason Conrad Smith, and an overseer. Although one account states that Turreau stipulated that R.D. free his enslaved persons, R.D. is shown to having owned numerous persons enumerated in both the 1850 and 1860 slave schedules. On January 6, 1854, Judah Turreau's will makes Rezin Davis Shepherd residuary legatee of the estate and executor. $395,000 in period money is willed to specific recipients. A sum of $80,000 is set aside for a palatial almshouse, with the added stipulation to R.D. that more sums, if needed, should be used to complete this priority project. Turreau made out his will January 6, 1854, a few days before his death, that said, "As regards my designated executor, say, my dear, old, and devoted friend, Rezin Davis Shepherd, to whom, under divine providence, I am greatly indebted for the preservation of my life when I was wounded on the 1st of January, 1815. I hereby appoint and institute him, the said Rezin Davis Shepherd, after the payment of my particular legacies and the debts of my succession, the universal legatee of the rest and residue of my estate, movable and immovable." R.D. continued his projects both in New Orleans and Shepherdstown. He had already funded the remodeling of the Trinity Church. He planned clock and bell to its original church. Then, after some legal squabbling, the clock, to everyone's assent, was reassigned to be inserted in the new government building.